Hi, I'm Russ with DevotedGolfer.tv. It's the 2014 PGA Merchandise Show. I'm here with Bill Lang from True Temper. And you've been with True Temper for what, 19 years now?
Just had my 18-year anniversary last week.
Yeah. What do you do there?
I'm a director of sales for golf products. So I handle OEM accounts and aftermarket accounts and retail. So a pretty diverse group of customers.
The Shaft Lab. Is that still in existence?
It is not. We were, I think, a little bit ahead of the game at that time. We had a great device that was on the forefront of custom fitting as far as shafts go. But after a couple of years, we realized that we needed to kind of stick with what we do best, which is manufacture golf shafts. So kind of pulled back the reins on Shaft Lab and let that go, and so we could focus on our core business, which was shaft manufacturing.
I forget that was actually a product that you sold. You know, I always think of it as, you know, the premier R&D device way back when.
Yeah, it through the technology that was available to us at that time, it was nothing was wireless or anything, so we had a lot of wires coming out of the golf shafts and strain gauges inside the golf shafts, but it focused on the measuring the load and the deflection of a shaft, which I think, as everyone knows today, is really what determines what flex someone should play. So it's how they bend the shaft. It's not how fast they're swinging it, but how much they're bending the shaft, and Shaft Lab was certainly on the forefront of that.
And so some of us still go back and look at that stuff.
There are. I've got a couple of customers that still use their Shaft Lab unit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So the big R&D tools that have replaced that now, an extra elbow in your robot. Tell me a little about that.
Well, yeah, we've, I think you're familiar with Iron Byron, which True Temper developed many years ago after Byron Nelson's swing, and that was
and that was a True Temper.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we use that to do a lot of our dynamic testing. We had a facility with a range. Didn't even have sensors back then. It had a couple guys working it, and a guy would go out there and measure how far the robot would hit the shaft.
Before radar.
Yeah, before radar, before all of it. And we retired Iron Byron, I'm not sure in what year. And it's actually was inducted to the World Golf Hall of Fame. So the original is located in the World Golf Hall of Fame right now. We use a robot now called Mia 5, which is based out of a Japanese company. But we've got a proprietary version that's unique to us, where we can simulate wrist action and cock and things like that to simulate certain golfers' swings. So if we're designing a shaft, maybe to try to get a certain player, we can load their profile into this robot and see how the shaft that we're designing would perform with that player we're actually hitting. So we don't actually have to go to the player.
Yeah, I've heard this. How do you get a player's profile loaded into it?
Camera. So through high-speed camera of the golfer's swing, we can then load that into to our robot, and it's one of the few that has a wrist cock attribute, and that's down at our facility in Tunica, Mississippi.
Dynamic Gold X100. How many of those are in play on tour?
Well, True Temper as a company, we are averaging about 80% on iron shafts right now on the PGA Tour, and I would say 60% are Dynamic Gold. Still 3-to-1 Dynamic Gold to any other shaft, which in second place would be Project X. At over 25 years in existence. Still number one by a long shot.
So the new products this year, the XP line, I go back to the GS75.
The GS75 was kind of the threshold that we got to as far as how light we could make a steel iron shaft. Raw weight was just about 80 grams, so when you cut it down to plain weight, we got 75-ish in the shorter irons, and that really taught us, really pushed the envelope as far as we could go, and that's, I don't see anyone being able to go really lighter than that. You start to have durability concerns and playability concerns, and so I think we took the GS75 as the lightest that we can do, which is probably 20 grams lighter than where that kind of honey spot is as far as what the mass amount of golfers really should be playing. And that's where, this new line kind of comes in.
That's the XP95 and the XP105.
Right.
And these are probably the two most popular weights that I fit with.
Yeah, well, True Temper's been developing lightweight steel shafts for about 10 years. The original ones were light and they were thin wall shafts, but trying to maintain traditional stiffnesses meant that the diameters were larger and this taper rate was slower, and so there was a harshness associated with that, with the original sub 100 gram shafts. And then from advancements in alloys and just learning from and experiences from previous designs, we've gone through GS75, GS85, GS95, Dynamic Gold Superlight, Dynalite Gold Superlight, and now these XP95s and 105s. So, over the course of all these other products that we've done in this lightweight arena, we've learned a lot of things. And then being able to work with our steel suppliers on different alloys and different grades of steel, proprietary to True Temper, we feel that we now are able to hit those 95 and 105 popular weight categories like you're seeing in irons, and have good feel. Now these shafts, it's really about explosive distance. Obviously everyone wants to hit their driver as far as they can, and that's the kind of the sexy club that golfers play, and they play lightweight graphite in that and play them long in order to achieve that. Well, golfers also want to hit their irons, longer too. They'd much rather hit a 7 iron into a green than a 5 iron.
These represent some new alloys for
They
you?
do. It's a proprietary alloy that that just True Temper has. Standard weight steel shaft is made out of 4140 carbon steel. That's the makeup. So it's improved in tensile strength and quality, and again allowed us to hit these weight ranges, but not have that harshness that was associated with the earlier steel shafts, and really achieve that distance that we're trying to get. Like our robot testing has shown, 6 to 8 yards of increase with a 95 versus your standard weight steel.
Now, what am I seeing here? Are these speed steps?
Yeah, something that is unique to the XP line is it's actually a combination of speed steps and conventional steps.
That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing the double
right.
step,
If you remember
and then I'm seeing the single step.
Right. If you remember the TX90 and even the GS shafts, those were speed steps, and speed steps are less pronounced steps. So,
Okay.
Steps, of course, are your transition of diameter,
Yeah.
and as you change the diameter, you step it in that location. Our engineers had been working almost exclusively with speed steps on our lightweight shafts previously.
Okay.
We feel that, and it has something to do with durability too. The less pronounced step, a little less strain on the shaft in those locations. So it's a way to help with durability. Now with these, coming from the butt end of the shaft, you can see the speed steps. And then the transition point is the label landing area, which is represented by 2 very small steps. That's that hasn't really been done before either. This is a stress point in the shaft.
Okay.
And then we go to conventional steps from there. So again, through experiences on previous designs, we're learning from ourselves and from our previous shafts that we've come out with, and now we're into this speed step combination, traditional steps, and have found that the playability that we were looking for in this type of design was now achievable through the step pattern change.
Now, when I looked at the EI profiles on these, did I see a little bit of flighting, for want of a better word?
Well, you probably saw a blip in the profile, and it could have been in this more of this middle section because of the elongated step right there. It can give you a little bit of a quick change in the profile of the shaft. I would not classify these as flighting. Certainly not within the set, but if you were to compare the two, 95 to 105, we got the highest launching,
Okay.
a little bit lower launching,
Okay.
combination of weight and stiffness change between the two.
So there wasn't intentional fighting here.
No, not within the set. There wouldn't have been.
And we've used this word before, and so now you have the Dynamic Gold Pro or Progressive.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's a progressive launch. That's
Yeah.
another new product.
Yeah, that's another new product, and that's another one with the double step, longer landing area. Now that shaft is unique in that it's got 3 different sets of steps. So the long irons, where the importance is to get the ball up in the air, higher
Right. Yep.
launching shots that will come down and land on the green. The golf ball has gotten so good at reducing spin and contributing to distance gains that it's almost gone too far. And if you're not that very strong tour player golfer with the high swing speed, you're struggling to keep the ball in the air with these newer golf balls and some of these
even
newer
some of
head
the tour
designs.
players are switching to these driving irons.
Yeah,
and the
driving
long
irons,
yeah.
hybrids, they're dumping
Yeah.
their 2 irons and 3 irons out because they can't hold a green with those either.
Okay.
So DG Pro was developed with that knowledge that was happening, and so we created 3 subsets of shafts to fill out a set. Long irons have an 1.25 inch step pattern. They're the softest of the group. They're going to promote the higher launch angle and a little bit more spin. Then mid irons are an 1.5 inch step pattern, so a little bit longer. That stiffens up the shaft a little bit because of the change in diameter. Mid ball flight, and then the short irons are 1.75 inch. Your typical dynamic style step pattern. Controlled ball flight in your scoring clubs, firmer feel, stiffer tip. So
That's a very, very new shaft.
very,
Yeah.
very unique, and that's
Have you
why
had any-
the
have you had
Pro
any,
is
yeah.
progressive.
Have you had any tour pickup on it yet?
We have. We've had a couple players pick it up, some from competitor products, some that have been searching, that have been maybe a Dynamic Gold or a Project X player in the past, and was having that problem that I was talking about with the longer irons.
Can't get the long irons.
Yeah,
out.
we don't. We don't pay any players to play our product.
Right.
It's something True Temper's been very proud of over all the years to have that kind of market share out there and not pay any. So don't give out names a whole lot,
Yeah,
but.
right.
One of the
But you
things
can give
that
out the numbers, and 60%
right.
is a big number, right?
Yeah, that's right. So I mean, it's a good number, and one of the new things that we've done, how graphite shafts have gotten very loud and bright and show up on TV, is very important. So we're trying to do that with steel shafts too. We added a big long label to the Dynamic Gold shaft, and under the Tour Issue brand, this longer landing area is allowed for larger labels. And so
Gotcha.
DG Pro's got a large label. Project X was another one, large label. So, trying to get
Sunday visibility.
yeah, absolutely, get some visibility out there. So, because from a distance, a step shaft is a step shaft, and
Right.
one is very hard to tell from the other one. So, so True Temper and our competitors are trying to take advantage of any opportunity we can to get that branding out there, and what we can do is through labels.
So these are the new things this year: the XP 105 and the XP 95, and we have the Dynamic Gold Progressive. What are you working on?
Always working on things. There's both more game improvement type shafts in the very lightweight category. Obviously, we've gone lighter than 95 before, so we're looking at.
So this
coming
is
up.
going to move on. This is
I mean, I think
move,
you can
it's
kind
going to
of
move down and move
If
up.
I had a crystal ball in front of me right now, I could very much see a heavier weight one and a lighter weight one in the future. So from a lightweight,
So that's an interesting matrix. You've got 85 to
yeah,
115.
the possibilities
right?
are great to have a very distinct but consistent line with this new XP family, and that's one of the things we've done. It's probably this year more than anything is very clearly defined our steel product offering. It's XP, it's DG, and it's PX, and within that there'll be a couple products under each of those brands. But
does that mean some of these other lines are going to thin out a little bit?
yeah, and GS was one that we're phasing out of here in the U.S. It's a strong shaft in Asia, so we'll keep it in Asia, but in the U.S., we're going to focus on the XP line. It's as our lightweight platform anyway. And then DG will have a range, just like in the PX, from anything from tour caliber, heavier weight, to better player, lighter weight, but still, more performance-based kind of products. So it should be very easy to understand the True Temper line going forward, I think, it being very clean.
So, thanks for spending time with us today. This is Bill Lang from True Temper with Russ Ryden from DevotedGolfer.tv.